Hello YouTube, welcome back to a brand new video. This is the America First Pill channel. So we need to discuss what are data centers, because data centers are becoming more prevalent. There's a lot of investment to get them built all over the country, and I think the reason it's got brought up to the public more recently and more concentrated levels because I guess some people in Utah, I think it was, were protesting against data centers. So here's the thing. A data center is basically like a power center. It's a big building, big centralized center that is like almost like the power center for artificial intelligence, AI. And well, they're obviously being built in cities, suburbs, and well, small towns too. And well, Americans are not a big fan of them. And I know both party, this is actually quite across the aisle. Republicans and Democrats, independents, are not a big fan of AI. Especially the idea of kind of being forced. It seemed like we're almost being forced to kind of go into it when we don't know if America is quite ready yet to go to the level that those in pushing it want us to go. It almost seems like AI is becoming a little bit like the Republicans' version of renewable energy. It's kind of funny, those that are pushing AI were the biggest ones that say we need to limit fossil fuel and just go to 100% renewable. Yeah, as if renewable is going to power AI. Come on, give me a break. But Republicans that spent years saying how AI is not sustainable and how it's enormously expensive, well, which it is, it's a scam, and it's not reliable, are also the same ones that look the other way, it seems, at data centers, which is basically not much different than solar panel farms or all these windmills that kind of unpretty the beautiful America with all these turbines and solar farms. So, and we know renewable energy, yes, they're companies, but remember, it's hard to even consider them really companies because they have to rely on a huge amount of subsidies to be able to pay for them, because wind turbines are not cheap. They're millions of dollars. I thought, was it $4 million it costs to make a turbine? And I think that's each. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong how much a turbine is. Let me know what the price is. But I know it's millions. It's millions and billions and billions. I don't know, maybe even the trillions of what we invest on this whole renewable. And that's why our electric is going well. But so is AI. I mean, I know we're at kind of a transition where AI is the future. And, I don't know really if it can really be stopped. I think it's more, what do we do now and how do we prepare for the future? What measures can we take potentially to protect ourselves and protect people from the bad parts of AI that could potentially be weaponized against us? By the way, I do think the data centers are actually more surveillance centers than they are actual data. I think they are spying on Americans more, collecting data, because I do think once they get everything set up, I think they plan to use those data centers to surveillance, for mass surveillance that would erode our rights. So I think that's what they're actually being used for. But they say this is supposed to combat China, which, let's be honest, Trump, you have to understand, even if you agree with Trump on competing with China, is that what his whole administration's goal is? Is that what his donors want? Because I don't think it's about China at all, actually. let's be strong with China. I mean, maybe it is, at least for Trump it is. I mean, let's face it, we started to invest more in the space industry when the Russians were. We wanted to keep up with Russia. I think China too. I had something with the space industry too. Russia for sure. And now we're at this point where we're trying to invest in, trying to compete with China when it comes to AI. Now, here's the thing. I know Trump definitely wants America to be number one in everything, which to me, all I want is to be number one, and as close to number one as we can in manufacturing. My hope is that America can become the leading country when it comes to producing things. We used to be on the top, really, right there, until we kind of our ruling class sold us out for cheap goods, and now while we're still wealthy, now we have to rely. The world basically have to rely on getting their stuff from China, including the United States, getting everything from China. So, and obviously Trump ran on the idea of being to make American made, and he's right. All I care about at the end of the day is that America becomes manufacturing. That needs to be a priority, and it shouldn't be AI. Because let's face it, the countries that produce things are usually the countries that are most wealthiest, the most prosperous. And that's really where I think our focus needs to be in. AI doesn't exactly produce anything. It really just takes jobs away from people, and I think it makes people dumber. Because, if there is a point in time where some AI is so powerful, it actually could get to a point where it's able to become smarter than a human is, where it could actually become, we would be the second smartest and AI would be the smartest, which isn't even an actual person. It's really dystopian, very dystopian. So data centers, I think like renewable energy, data centers also rely on subsidies. If you think about it, there's a lot of cases, there's a lot of, you just have to do a little research. That's all it takes. That since the data centers moved to these communities or cities, energy prices also skyrocketed. I mean, AI needs a huge amount of energy to be able to do what it's supposed to do. And clearly, I don't know if our grid that we have really can support it. It barely can right now. And the fact that they want to build more of them, I mean, they need so much electricity that there's risks of potentially where some cities and counties could lose power. So just like renewable energy, Democrats expect us to go, just transition without a plan, without a replacement of oil, when when renewable energy is not even reliable to replace oil. Same thing with AI. I mean, we don't have the infrastructure to be able to support what it needs without potentially impacting Americans. And if they are, it seems like they're basically tax exempted, basically, where to pay for the electricity, it's been transferred onto taxpayers, or, well, if their bills are skyrocketing, well, that's a tax. They're having to pay for something they're not using, but they're paying for the data center right down the street, or however far it is. So it's, people are not happy with that. And it's also concerned about potentially stealing water as well. So, they should not be getting handouts from the government. I mean, that's, to me, corporate welfare. We should not be subsidizing. If we're a free market, we should be, businesses need to be able to operate themselves. And I think AI needs to invest in their own grid that's just for for data centers or AI without having to use the grid that people are using, that without skyrocketing their prices. That's what I think. Personally, I really would. I wish my state would just ban AI centers, because data centers, but I don't think that's going to happen. Um, but just the way things are going. But I understand that Trump specifically wants America to become closer to China on AI, because they're beating us on AI, and he's always wanting to be up there. And obviously, I'm not saying we should give China a win. We should do what we can to. And here's the thing: I don't know if we ever are going to be ahead of China on some things. I just don't. But I think at best, if it's true, if Trump is sincere about using AI to catch up to China, well, I think AI could be useful in potentially using it to basically protect Americans. But if it seems like the signs are showing that they're planning to use it as more surveillance, where AI becomes like they're surveilling you, which is interesting, because I do think they're kind of using AI as a way to escape not having to face accountability. It's just like, why are people not asking enough questions, and why are they waiting till those bad things happen to be like, oh, I should have listened? Sometimes I feel like people have not learned a thing from COVID. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert on AI at all by any means. I mean, I'm not, but clearly people are not happy with it. And, I'm not particularly too happy about, no one should be happy about their data centers kind of being subsidized. So I think that needs to be at least the first start, is they shouldn't be relying on the cities or the taxpayers to basically fund their project. I just don't. So that's where I would start. I tend to agree with I know Bernie and AOC have come out strongly against AI, critical of AI, and I agree with them principally. I mean, as at least AOC, she's a millennial like me. She kind of recognizes it is a disaster because it does have potential to erode jobs from people. But, obviously being a democratic socialist, you really think that's going to be the solution to stopping AI? That will only accelerate AI, actually. I just, socialism, for those who think, but I'm afraid that with cowing to AI, it might be the one thing that leads America down to socialism is AI, even though it won't stop it. In fact, maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's what it's designed to do. Maybe it's designed to use socialism to give corporates an excuse to have AI, because their goal eventually is to provide us all with UBI, universal basic income, once all the jobs are taken. Now, not to panic or cause panic, but obviously the white collar, 50% of jobs are expected to be replaced very soon, which is mostly white collar jobs. Blue collar will take a little longer. I think they'll definitely be harder to replace, but they hope to eventually replace that too. So, what's the goal on giving, younger people who are supposed to work, what's their vision to, give them, replace their job with? I don't know. So I'm not to cause paranoia, but I think before we just rush and expect America to transition to these data centers and AI, which is the stuff, we need to start building an infrastructure first, where at least it can not hurt America pocket-wise. That's just all I'm really saying. So, You know, a concern I have is I forgot the guy's name already, but I think he's the replacement of Joe Kent. He's one of I think the counterterrorism. He's the guy that leads counterterrorism. I know Joe Kent. Forgot the name of that position, but whoever took over for him recently came out and called Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes a domestic terrorist. I mean, that's a pretty dangerous thing, or in fact, very dangerous thing for any leader in that position to be calling podcasters they don't like domestic terrorists. So why shouldn't Americans think that really this whole data center is a way to prepare for the government to create a mass surveillance? So, sorry, I'm outside and there's kids around kind of playing outside, so excuse the noise. But anyway, I just wanted to give my 2 cents. I don't really have all the answers. I think we all just need to pray. I talked to a friend about this. It's, I'm not happy about it, but, can we really stop it? And I guess the question we need to be asking is, what do we do from here? I think one is we need to prepare. That's why having good friends is good, especially if we come a day where, I don't know. I just, getting emergency supplies and all that stuff, that's a good way to prepare. Because you just never know. It just, I just hope I think Republicans are going to be more skeptical going forward because they'll have to, as the base gets younger and younger people become the more predominant voice in the GOP, as, I guess the boomers are no longer here, or less of them are here. You're going to, because boomers are the ones that are more pro-AI. Sorry, but they're definitely more pro-AI, and I understand why boomers are not as worried about it, because, they're retiring, so it's not as effect on them, but it will have an effect on you, especially if they're spying on you, or they want to use it as a weaponization. I mean, it will affect you. Maybe not necessarily, employment wise, but it will affect us in other ways. I've been scolded before on, about paying all our bills through electronics only. Like, what are you going to do when that's the only choice to pay, when you have to get digital ID and things like that? I mean, what's the plan for you guys? So, I don't know. So that's all I have for now. What do you think about data centers? What should be the solution? What's the more common sense solution? Because you can't just, it's one thing to be against it, but what's the solution? So what's a moderate, I guess, stance for right now? Anyway, let me know at the bottom what you think, and if you like this video, again, please like, and if you like this channel, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. The America First Pill channel, out.